today we're making a gorgeous vintage dress for a baby girl. Okay, these are the fabric I have lace fabric here. I have my orange color vintage fabric. I have my net and also have my lining piece. Okay, so here I have my zipper and I have about 3 buttons here that I'm going to be using to design our dress. So I'm going to set it aside and I'll bring in our pattern paper that we're going to draft on. So here I have my pattern paper, okay, and I'm going to start drafting. So the first thing I'm going to do is to measure my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'll be working with 6 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark it. Okay, so the next thing I will do is I'll put that same 6 inches for my chest line. Okay, and I'll also get my length. Okay, the half length I'm working with, I'll also mark it. So I'll bring in my ruler and rule it into a straight line. So after ruling it into a straight line, I will label it as shoulder, chest, and waist. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to measure that same measurement, that same 6 inches I put on my shoulder. I'll measure it on my chest line and I'll mark it. I'll go ahead and connect for my front armhole. So I'll come down from my shoulder by 0.5 inches and I'll use 2.25 for my neck width, and I'll also go ahead and use 2.5 for my neck depth. Okay, so this is my front neck. So I'll go ahead and slope my shoulder, and after that I'm going to measure what we have, divide it into 2 and get the midpoint. And when I get the midpoint, I'll mark it and come down by 0.25. So I'll measure my round chest circumference. Okay, I'll measure my chest circumference and divide it by 4. And what I have there, I'll mark it. So I'll connect my armhole curve. Okay, my front armhole curve, I'll go ahead and connect it. So once I was done doing that, the next thing is to curve my neckline. Okay, so after that I'll put that same measurement I put on my chest line, I'll bring it down to my waistline. Okay, and I'll mark it. Then I'm going to connect it into a straight line and we'll be done with our front half length. So I'll go ahead and I will cut it out. Back pattern. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is to get my zipper allowance. I'll be using 1.5 for my zipper allowance. So I'm going to go ahead to measure 1.5. Okay, and I'm going to mark it. So after marking it, I'll also rule it into a straight line. So once I'm done ruling it into a straight line, I will measure my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2. I will also extend that same measurement to my chest line, and I'll also measure my waist. Okay, that is my half length. So I'll go ahead and connect all the lines into a straight line. I also label our shoulder, chest, and waist. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is to put my shoulder to shoulder measurement divided by 2, and I'll still put that same measurement on my chest line just as we did for our front pattern. I'll go ahead and rule it into a straight line like you see, and I'll also get my shoulder slope of 0.5 inches. Okay, and I'll get my neck depth, my neck width, sorry, of 2.25, I'll slope my shoulder. Okay, so the next thing is to get my back neck depth. I'll be using 1 inch. Okay, 1.5. So I'll be using 1.5 instead of 1 inch. Okay, so I'll go ahead and rule my neckline. After that, I'll also connect it to my zipper allowance. After I was done doing that, I'm going to get my chest circumference divided by 4. I'll mark it, and I will also bring the same measurements to my waistline. I'll mark it. Okay, so once I'm done marking it, I'll roll it into a straight line. I'll just connect it this way. The next thing I'm going to be doing is to measure my armhole line, divide it by 2, mark the midpoint. Then after marking the midpoint, I'm going to come in by 0.25. Okay, I'll mark it, then I'm going to connect it into my back armhole curve. So I'm gonna head to connect it, and next thing I'm going to do is to cut out. So once I'm done cutting out, I am going to place them on my fabric, and I am going to cut them out. So I also label it as B for back and F for front. Okay, so I'm gonna head to cut them on my fabric. So the first one I cut was the lace fabric. Okay, so I cut my front lace fabric and my back lace fabric. So actually for my front, the lace fabric will serve as the inner one, while I'll be using the vintage material for the outer one, just as you see on the thumbnail. Okay, so I'm going to remove the front paper, and I'll cut out on my front paper what I'll be using for my lining piece for the lace. So I'll divide what I have on my shoulder into 2, and I'll put that same measurement straight down to my chest line. Okay, so after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to use my ruler and connect it all the way from my shoulder to my chest line into a straight line. So I'll also curve it down to my center front. So after doing that, I'm going to cut it out, and after cutting it out, I'll place it on my lining piece, and I'll add my allowance to it. Okay, so add allowance. I added allowance of about 1 inch round. So you can go ahead and add 1 inch round, or you add about 1.5 inches round. So I won't be doing anything on my back pattern. Okay, I won't be styling my back pattern, so I won't be cutting it. So I'll go ahead and place my cutout on my vintage fabric. I will cut it out first, then I'll cut the other one on my lining. So I've cut out the one I'll be using vintage fabric for, as you can see. Okay, so just as the style appear on my thumbnail, and this one will be the inside, so the lace fabric will serve as the inside. So I'm just trying to place it on it to show you how it is going to be, even though you have already seen it on the thumbnail. So this paper now, I'm going to place it on my lining piece. Okay, I will cut out the lining that I will be inserting under my lace. So I'm gonna head to cut the lining for my lace. Okay, I've cut out my lining for my lace, and I'm also gonna head to cut out the one for the front lace, the front lace inside for the front, and also the one for vintage material. So the next thing I did, I subtract my half length from my from my full length of the gown. Okay, I subtract the half length from the length of the gown, and I use the remaining length measurement to cut this strip, and I'm going to gather it to form my skirt part. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, I'll start joining my piece. So I've gone ahead to pin my lining with my fabric. Okay, I want ahead to pin it down, and I'm going to start joining right way. So because of time, I won't be showing you the joining parts much. I'll just show you a few. Okay, so here I was done joining already. Okay, so you can see the back, and I also went ahead to give it a good press. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place back, front facing front. Okay, after that I'm going to close my zipper allowance. So you go ahead and close your zipper allowance with a loose stitch. Okay, because you are going to lose it later. I'll set it aside and also bring my front. I've gone ahead to lining my front, and I also folded the edge of my lining for the front. Okay, so after that I also pin it down. So I use my pin to hold it for now. So I'm going to use hand needle to hand tack all these points. Okay, I'll hand tack it down with hand needle. Okay, so that is what I'm going to be doing. I want to also close my armhole. So I'm going to set it aside and show you also my belt that I've cut out. Okay, so I actually love attaching belt on baby girl dress because I don't like making it too fitted. Unlike adult clothes that need to be fitted, I like making it free, then attach belt and I'll iron it. So I also went ahead to gather the skirt part. Okay, I went ahead to gather my skirt parts. So go ahead and gather your skirt parts to the length of to the side of your waist. Okay, use the same measurement, your round waist measurement, and gather your skirt part. Okay, so I'm going to divide it into two, and I am going to show you how I'm going to attach it to my half length. So by the time I join the front half length with the back half length, this is what I have. You see, it align properly to the measurement of my half length. And I'm also going to attach my belt this way. Okay, I'll do that to the second one this way. All right. So I've gone ahead to close the zipper allowance with a loose stitch, just as I've said. Okay, I went ahead to stitch it down with a loose stitch, that is gather stitch, and I also gave it a good press. Then as for my front, I went ahead to join the armhole of the main fabric, the shoulder of the main fabric with the lace. So I'm going to place the front and the back right side facing right side. I'm going to join the shoulder side. So I'm going to do this by facing it, then I'll use one part of the lining, flip it to cover the whole shoulder. Okay, so I'll go ahead and pin it down very well. I'm going to secure it with pin. So after that, I will do the same thing with the other armhole. Okay, to the other shoulder, I'm going to go ahead to secure the other side of the shoulder with pin. So after securing it, I am going to go over to my machine and I'm going to join it. Okay, so watch carefully if you don't know how to join your shoulder neatly without showing the rough edges. Watch carefully, this is exactly how you join it. Okay, so there is still other way to join it, but this is the way that I'll be using for this dress. So the bust is the most important thing is for you to join it in a way that the rough edges will not be showing. So I will do that and show you what we have. So I've gone ahead to join the shoulder, as you can see. Okay, I'll flip it and show you where I join. So I join about 0.5 inches, and this is the back. Okay, as you can see, I also went ahead to give it a very good press, and it's looking very beautiful. I've also gone ahead to use my hand needle to hand tack the place I talked about before. Okay, so to attach my belt, I am going to go up from my waist. Okay, I'm going to go up from my waist with 1.5 inches, and I'll also come in from my side line. Okay, so I will basically remove my allowances. Okay, I'll remove the allowances I added earlier. So after removing my allowance, the next thing I'm going to be doing is that I will attach my belt. Okay, go ahead and attach my belt. So remember to come up from your waistline by 1 inch or 1.5 inches, so that you can have your space for attaching the skirt part. So please, if you have watched up to this point and you've not subscribed, please go ahead and hit on the subscribe button. You don't want to miss any of these beautiful tutorials that I'll be dropping from time to time, so go ahead and subscribe. So after pinning my belt, I'll go ahead and flip the back side, right side facing right side with the front, and I'm going to join it. So I'll go ahead and do that and show you what we have. So look at how beautiful it's looking. I'm gonna head to join it, and our belt is very ready. So see the inside. Okay, see how I attach it at the inside. All right, so it's looking very beautiful, honestly. So I'm going to mark out where I'll be attaching the skirt parts. Okay, so I'll go ahead and use my chalk, mark out exactly the point where I'll be attaching my skirt parts. Okay, and I'll attach it round, and I'll bring it to show you. But before then, we're going to open our zipper. Remember, we sewed it with a loose stitch so that we can be able to rip it open when we are ready to join our skirt part. So I'm going to go ahead to notch the center point of my half length. So after notching it, I'll bring my skirt part also. I'll fold it into two, and I will notch the center point. Okay, so after notching the center point, I'm also going to bring my chalk and I will mark it. Okay, so that it will be very visible for me when I'll be attaching it to my length, to my half length too. To attach the skirt part to my length, okay, to my half length, and look how beautiful it's looking. Okay, so I'll flip it and show you the inside. Can you see? That's it. Okay, so I'll flip it back to the outside look, and I really love the look. So the next thing, I'll bring in my lining for my skirt part. As you can see, I'm gonna have to attach my net on my lining. So this is how I love attaching my net in a layered form so that it will go round. That is how I love attaching my net. You can also attach yours just the way you love it. So I'm going to place it this way, and I'm going to sew it round to the other end so that I can properly conceal those rough parts with my lining. And once I'm done, I'll flip it this way, as you can see. So this is how it's going to stay at the end. Let me do that and show you what we have. So as you can see, I'm gonna head to attach that, and I also sew this strip bow tie. So I've gonna head to sew this strip, okay, and knot it at bow tie rope. So this is our button. I'll go ahead and place the button and see how it will look. Okay, so remember, we'll have 3 buttons, so I'm just trying to see how I can place these two. Then after that, I'm going to remove them with the bow tie after placing it the possible way it will be. Okay, I'll flip them and keep them separate. I just feel like showing you the inside of the cloth. I love showing this particular inside, especially for our beginners who do not know how to attach the lining to the skirt part. Please watch carefully so that you can learn. Okay, this makes our inside to look very neat, just like the outside. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be doing is to fix my sleeve. Okay, our cloth is looking given already, it's looking very fine. So I'm going to get our pattern for our sleeve. Okay, so before then, I have this golden color flower that I made with golden color bead. So I'm trying to place it to see if it will match. Okay, but if in case it doesn't match or doesn't look the way I would love it to look, I will just go ahead and make another one with a black color. Okay, so that is just what I'm trying to show here. I'm going to create another one with black color, then I'll compare the both look. So anyone I feel look more prettier will definitely be the one I'll be working with. So the next thing is to get our sleeve pattern and cut out our sleeve. So I'll have my sleeve pattern here. Okay, so I'll be working with sleeve length of 6 inches. Okay, so go ahead and measure the round armhole. Okay, and that is what you'll be using to cut out the armhole of your sleeve part. So I've already done that. I'm just trying to measure it. Okay, so what I have here is exactly what I have on my dress, because I have 6.5 on my paper, and I also have that same 6.5 on the main dress, the armhole of the main dress. Okay, so here you see I have that same 6.5. Okay, so go ahead and add allowance to the main fabric as you're cutting. Added allowance of about 1.25. You can add 1.5. So that is the allowance that I added, and also added allowance of the dark part about 0.5. Okay, so you can make it 0.75 or 5 or 1 inch. So I also cut out another long strip. I multiply 6, okay, the length of my sleeve into 2, and also multiply the wideness into 2. Okay, so as you can see, this side I'm trying to demonstrate how I'll be attaching it. I also multiply it into 2. So basically what I'll be doing, I'm just going to be folding, kind of pleating it around the sleeve. Okay, I'll place this side this way, place the other side this way, the downside, then I'll flip it inside out and just sew on top of the armhole. Okay, so I'll do that and show you what we have. So I've gone ahead to plait it round. As you can see, our puff sleeve is looking very beautiful. Okay, it's looking very beautiful, and I love the outcome. It's so gorgeous, it's so beautiful. So here I'm demonstrating how I'm going to fix it. So fix it